First of all, everyone saw the minutes. I regret there was an error in them. The next meeting date should have is not April the 26th. I think it's May the
No, I think that the minutes were right.
May 26th.
May the 26th, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Excellent. With that correction, does anyone else have any comments?
I think it's the 24th. Sorry, it's the 24th. It's a Tuesday.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're doing better than me.
But I think that wasn't in the minutes, that was in the agenda. That's where you have the mistake.
Oh, yeah.
In the agenda, I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
But as to the minutes, does anyone have any corrections, or can we take a vote on it?
I'd like
Okay,
to
good.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, care of that. I don't think we have any presentations. I had asked Oscar to talk about the availability of data. He's having a devil of a time pulling together data. It turns out that there's a parallel process underway as well in connection with the preparation of Cornwall by numbers. But as he's not here today, I think we'll hold off on that. And then the second point was we had a discussion last time about whether we could have a representative on the Western Connecticut Tourist Board. Is anyone aware of any developments on that? Is Gordon on?
No, not yet.
Yes, I will ask when Gordon shows up.
Here he comes. On his way.
Boy, I'm going to be so glad when we stop using Zoom.
Yeah.
Gordon, are you joining us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, your arrival was actually very timely because we were just asking whether we had found out what the situation was with regard to having a representative on the Western Connecticut Tourist Board. And I think you said at the last meeting that someone was nominally our representative, but you were going to find out whether they wish to continue.
Yeah, I did talk to Bob Ensign, who said he's too busy with his booming bike business to do that. So he appreciated being contacted, but he's not able to do it.
Okay. So what's the process for getting someone else appointed to that?
Well, I think what we'll need to do is have him resign. And I think the mayor said she'd be glad to do it. So we can make all that happen.
Does that still work for you, Matt?
Yep, I'm good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Excellent. Gordon, do you want to make your report?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things we've set the schedule for the West Cornwall wastewater project with informational meetings in June, vote July 9th. And so that's big. Also, we have been talking to Anna Tamel about Oscar's idea about getting some benchmark ideas, data for the town as far as tracking us year to year on how things are going, and we're working on a list. And certainly we can do 2021, and then every year the Planning and Zoning Commission meets in January to do a review of things. So that seems like that would be a good time to review, do a year-to-year analysis. So I think those are two things. And I did see Cornwall was listed as one of the 5 towns to go or something like that. I think a lot of people's efforts to bring attention to our little place got us up there with Saybrook, I think, New Haven, a few other places that we don't normally rank with, but anyway, it's good. And I think a lot of that is, people's effort to get the word out is cross-pollinating. So
Good. And
So that's about it.
What survey was that, or what publication?
There was a little thing I saw on the news about 5 towns
Oh, okay.
5 towns you should visit this weekend or something, and Cornwall was one of them.
It's from the
I think
Connecticut-
Neil might have had something to do with that.
Yeah, it's
so-
from the Connecticut Insider, and it's 5 cute towns for a
Yeah, we're
speed
cute. All of a sudden, we're cute.
date.
We're no longer green. We're the cutest town in Connecticut. There you go. Go figure. But anyway, we'll take it.
Going to be difficult to top that. Terrific. Priscilla, I don't think is on. Janet, are you plugged in?
I am. Actually, our high school just got named in the top 20% of the high schools in the state too. I'm going to connect with Neil just to get that word out too, because that's very impressive and very helpful. Especially if a lot of people, when they're looking to move here, are going to look at the schools.
That's terrific.
Just another 2 cents plug on mobile healthcare. That's going to start on May 4th. It'll be after May 4th, it'll be every Wednesday from 9 to 12 at the Union. It's just like your insurance. So if you just can't get to your regular doctor, or you feel like crap or whatever the heck, you decide you want to get vaccinated or get a booster or whatever, you just take your insurance card. It's Medicare, Medicaid, private pay insurance. If you don't have insurance, they'll help you sign up for insurance. And then in the meantime, they can give you a sliding scale. Typically, the vaccines are free, even if you're uninsured. Although those rules are changing in the state of Connecticut with COVID. So it's kind of by the day. But anyway, starting May 4th, every Wednesday, 9 to 12 at the Union, mobile healthcare.
That's terrific. Thank you. Good. Moving on into progress against our goals. Bianca, do you want to lead us off?
What? I was so focused on the waiting room. In terms of light.
Sorry, I'm banking out use of social media in connection with our goal of executing the Buy Hire local campaign.
Well, I mean, I've been working with Neil basically on that, and he's been really the driving force behind posting things on social media. We have an artist that is currently doing art workshops on Friday mornings at the Union, and we try to promote those things to bring people in. What has also happened, so with the 2 posters that I recently put up on the kiosks, they now have scan codes on them, which will drive people to the explorecornwall.com site that has been updated, as well as the cornwall.org site, and then walking tours for the historical districts, Cornwall Bridge and West Cornwall, can be looked up there as well. And I think that's going to give people, sort of like pique their interest. What I also would like to do, because we still have so many of the Visit Cornwall maps that probably need to already be updated again, because there's so much shifting and changing. I'd like to just print out QR code labels and stick them on there, so that in the process, before we print new ones and update new ones and print new ones, people can look up the visitor site, the Explore Cornwall visitor site, and get their way around that way. And hopefully, we'll see what percolates out of that.
Okay, and we should probably update it when the restaurant opens too, which presumably is still happening in early to
Well,
mid-May.
that one is actually on there. The Frank's was on there way
is?
before it ever opened, so that's current. But places like Susie's Bakery, the Cornwall Bridge Gardens, they are not on there. at this point, but they are on the explorecornwall.com site.
Good. Okay, well, that makes sense. You should let us know when you want to do that. But it seems like there's quite a lot going on. Neil, you want to add something?
I was just going to say, Bianca, if you could give me the map without the numbers on it, I could then put that on the website.
Okay. I'll try to figure that one out because I didn't do the map. The map was done by the guy who does the Miles of Smiles maps. And in fact, the Miles of Smiles maps, they're sort of regional tri-state area maps done with a company out of Massachusetts. And in fact, on those maps, the properties that are participating in those maps are actually labeled on the map. But I'll try to figure out how to get rid of the numbers.
Excellent. Any other questions for Bianca on this topic?
I think Jane Harold had submitted something about advertisement in the rural intelligence, which is primarily an online platform, which is also connected to Chronogram and other media platforms, is for the first time going old school and bringing out a print version, which will probably be twice a year. There's an issue coming out for the summer. Advertising deadline is in May 24th, which is when we are meeting again. I think we were thinking either of doing a small ad in there or getting some kind of coverage. I think Neil might know more about that.
Yeah, Jane had reached out to get some pricing for advertising, and I reached out to the editor to see maybe if they would write something about us versus us having to pay for something. And their paid ads are kind of advertorial. They look editorial, but they're paid. So we're seeing if we can get traction from one or the other.
Good. And Jane did send out an email to the entire group.
Right.
I think is slightly against the rules. Gordon, how should we address that?
Come again, Simon,
right.
what was your question?
Jane did send out a very helpful email talking about what the website committee is up to, etc. But unfortunately, she sent it to every member of the commission. So I was wondering, what do we need to do about that? As it broke your rule of no communication going to more than 2 members?
The rule is you can do one-way communication. You just can't start talking back and forth.
Oh, okay.
So if she says, I'm having a pottery sale, or somebody else has something to report, then you can do a one-way communication. But what we can't say is, how about giving EDC members half off? And then she says, no, I'll give you a quarter. You can't start going back and forth. But if she has relevant information to give to the committee, you can do one-way conversations.
Then I think we're okay on.
And then you as chair have great discretion on what happens in between the meetings.
I mean, it's my neck. Thank you. Okay, on to the next one, which is ending the free Wi-Fi. And Gary, you've been talking to the library, and I think you've had some pretty good discussions.
Yeah, it's more than talking with the library. Casey and I met with the representative of EdAdvance. It's an IT company. They're the ones that put in the network at the library. They're the ones that work with Town Hall. They're actually the ones that also put in free Wi-Fi in West Cornwall. We went to the town green. We basically have 2 options. One is to go and connect through the town of Cornwall service, But that then becomes adding a new IP address, a new access point, and that is estimated at 2,400 plus annual fees for a new IP address. Differently, the library has offered their free Wi-Fi, which they use for their guests and visitors to the library, to be usable at the town green. To accomplish that, we would need to do an upgrade, not of their system, but basically of the signal. So we need a new access point on the exterior of the library. There's no additional annual fees, and the estimated all-in cost of that is $800. That's the synopsis.
Great. That's been approved by the library?
The library has, yes. I've heard from Margaret that the library board has accepted opening up their Wi-Fi to the town green as a free Wi-Fi service.
Excellent. So really the question then is whether we would fund that expenditure.
Or the question is which of these two options we would want to go with, whether we would pursue building on the town's network or use the library's offer. And my proposal is to accept the library's offer. Budgeting, I'm going to ask for 1,000. I think that's a little bit more, and it's less than what was in our original budget for this, to build on the library and have free Wi-Fi across the town green.
Well, I think that's terrific. You've done a great job there. Can we have a motion, please, to approve that allocation of funds?
I make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's approved.
Great,
Anyone
done.
opposed? No, good, approved.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's great.
May I make a question? I was wondering, so I had read your submission to all of us members, because I would like to see, I mean, we have to now do the same thing for Cornwall Bridge, to have some free Wi-Fi down there. But I think also in West Cornwall, so the free Wi-Fi from the West Cornwall Library barely reaches across the railroad tracks. I get barely a signal, so maybe a booster there needs to happen as well, because I mean, I'm right there, right across the tracks, and it should, you know, go a little further than just around the building. That's almost like the Cornwall Library, where it's just within its vicinity currently. So maybe in the future, we could look at that as well, again, as we are looking into. Also, I think we need to discuss what we are going to do with Cornwall Bridge and where such free Wi-Fi should happen, to be fair to all the different centers of our town.
That makes sense. Bill?
I wonder if maybe there's a way for some of the commercial occupants of West Cornwall and Cornwall Bridge to find a way to do something similar to what the library is doing, in terms of putting an external amplifier, and maybe us paying for a similar situation there. So sort of maybe Bianca and Three Guys and the bike shop, I think you guys probably all pay for your own internet already. Maybe there's a small subsidy that can be given in order to share that to sort of a public area. Just a thought.
Well, on that, West Cornwall has free Wi-Fi that was put in about a year ago. That it doesn't reach to the Wish House is a bit surprising. I'll investigate it a bit further. I thought there was a booster at the CCT office, so I will follow up on that. As to the idea of Cornwall Bridge, that becomes a question for each of the businesses there, because to add free Wi-Fi, they could possibly accept the idea of building on what they have, but then it opens up their system to anyone accessing it, unless a firewall is set up. or which is basically setting up a separate IP address. And now we're starting to talk in the same framework of $2,000 to $3,000 to get going, and then the annual fee of the service. So the great advantage we have in the scenario in Cornwall Village is the library has stepped up and has offered something, and we don't need to set up a separate IP address.
Mhm.
Doesn't the Cornwall market already offer Wi-Fi to its customers?
Right, for those who come and are in the vicinity of the Cornwall market. How far it reaches the signal is not defined. And that's also another larger question of what's the foot traffic in Cornwall Bridge versus Cornwall Village versus West Cornwall. I think there's a different mode, but having Wi-Fi in Cornwall Bridge is a goal.
Mhm.
Maybe the
Anna?
Iron
Sorry.
Bank, oh, sorry, maybe the Iron Bank would want to be part of that discussion. I'm not volunteering them, but you know, a company that might also benefit, like the country market, it might benefit their customers who come into the bank. Maybe that would be a way to discuss that.
Okay, those will be, I'll investigate several of those.
Thanks.
Janet?
Anand?
Yeah, so all you have to do
Thanks,
is
Steph.
you have to be able to see from one building to another. So for example, if you have a repeater, then you can put it on an adjacent building and it will carry the signal across. You just have to have eye contact and be able to see that router. And those are not expensive at all. Those are like $200. So the signal does not carry all that far. It's probably, I want to say, 250 to 350 feet outside the building. But once you have those repeaters, you can channel it across the way very easily and not very expensively. So the way we had talked about doing that was to put one into conservation trust that would take that into, that down into this area, and that would help Bianca too. So just a heads up. I mean, it's to be able to carry the signal is really inexpensive, and Jaren, as Gary knows, is very well versed in that.
Mm-hmm. Does the CCT office have a repeater?
No, it does not have a repeater right now.
Ah, okay. I thought
That was something that we were looking at budgeting. We kind of wanted to get the initial place set up, and then we were going to see where we wanted it to repeat to. But we did already get permission from the Conservation Trust to put in a repeater, and they actually would pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hopefully Bart will remember that conversation. Happy to remind him if it need be.
Excellent. Thanks, Janet. Anand, sorry.
No, just similar to what Janet was just saying about the repeaters. I was just going to say that the repeaters are a good solution, but I would be interested to hear what people's thoughts are on. Obviously, the library changes the situation in the village, but there's also the fact that is, to my knowledge, at least, not a commercial center, whereas the other two areas obviously have businesses. And if we're providing some sort of town subsidy of some kind for Wi-Fi, we probably need some sort of policy, right? So we're not, creating at least even the appearance of unfairly advantaging some businesses over others, because people get it at the farmer's market, but that's on a public town green space. When we have connectivity issues across town, picking and choosing pockets, I feel like we just need some sort of understanding moving forward about that, probably, right? Or
Well, presumably the farmers market is one of the areas that people congregate in town, West Cornwall. I think it's probably, the biggest, and then, maybe the farmers market. A lot of traffic down at Cornwall Bridge. A lot of it's passing traffic, as opposed to people getting out of their cars and looking in at windows or buying things. So I think, extending in my view anyway, extending the Wi-Fi to the green makes sense.
absolutely, I
hear anyone else's views.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it makes sense. I was just wondering if we were thinking about like long term, let's say things start to, the Four Corners opens back up and the service isn't great over there by Mohawk. Are we going to help that area? It just, that kind of thing. But
That's a fair point. Presumably Mohawk already provides Wi-Fi on its premises.
Yeah, on property.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Kara. That's actually very positive. Good that we've actually achieved that goal, partially anyway. Now we're on to number 3, spring and summer events. Mayor, do you have anything you want to say here?
Yeah, sure. I actually will start with another protocol question, just as we all learn this. So I guess this is for Gordon, like this event subcommittee that was formed last meeting did meet twice, and I have, all the meeting minutes and everything, they've been posted. But my question for you, Gordon, is that, so it would be within protocol to keep this whole commission informed of subcommittee activities and discussions. I could actually, summarize, like, or share the minutes. I don't know which is better, but to the EDC, as long as nobody is commenting back, that would be a way for the subcommittee to inform the full commission. Yes, in between meetings? Is he there?
Yes, that would be good. And then
Okay.
Get into it in detail at the regular meeting.
Okay, so I didn't,
Perfect.
so I didn't do that, but in ongoing, I will do that so that, you all, the other commission members that have not been at these meetings, can be informed about that.
And then just file them with Vera too. That's the main legal
Yes.
requirement.
And that
Yes.
I have done, and then
Great.
so that they get posted. So
Good.
we had 2 really good discussions face to face. We used the union, so that's always a great thing that we have that union there. And I would say that overall, the first meeting was sort of a little bit of a brainstorm, thinking about all the events that already happened in Cornwall. How can the EDC help promote them? Obviously, we have the expertise of Neil, always building that social media presence for different events and activities that are already in existence. And we talked a lot about, what makes Cornwall special and what other activities or events would fit in to our goals as an EDC. And then at the next meeting, we sort of focused more on really what did we want our goals as a subcommittee to be. And then we also had discussion of a specific idea. So I can share both these things. Can I share my screen? Okay, yeah, I can. All right, you'll see. If it's okay, I'll just share this if that's within protocol. This is our meeting minutes that I have already submitted for the record to the town clerk. So we just had a meeting last Thursday. But I just wanted to, it was an important thing to highlight, like we really, after sort of a broader discussion, again, we sort of kind of zeroed in on what do we really think we should do as an EDC on this sort of events idea. And we came up with this initial draft of what our specific subcommittee goals are, which would be to drive collaboration among local event organizers and ensure there's cohesive integrated event calendar. There's already a lot of things, as we know, that go on that we can support, and then identify gaps and needs, looking at that annual calendar and ways to engage the community and create new events, advocate for new events to take place in Cornwall. So we talked a lot about how we don't think we are like producers, so to speak, of events. We are just supporters and potentially sponsors, if that's the right word, but we don't want to like start being producers of local events. We want that collaboration and that cohesive, community to come together. So, and then finally provide support for community-wide events that provide economic impact for the community. So, again, great discussion, with any subcommittee members or anyone not on the committee has questions about that, happy to discuss that. this, well, actually, I'll ask that first before I go on to our item 4 here. Does anyone sort of have any thoughts or ideas about those being the goals of this events subcommittee or additions?
Mayor.
Yeah.
So, I know sort of in the last meeting, we also discussed, it was sort of Neil had a sort of an additional perhaps scope of attempting to sort of do outreach to events to get them to come to Cornwall and hold their events in Cornwall, which I
Okay.
thought was pretty good. I think the group sort of responded to that pretty well. I don't know if you mean that. I don't know if that is
I think that was C,
Okay,
right,
okay,
Neil?
Gotcha.
That was,
Okay.
yeah. what we
So
did.
acting as advocates for, and Neil was using the example of the show, the dog show.
Right.
Yeah,
Sort of events that have sort of existing track records that are out there already with strong followings that we could get to come to Cornwall and host their event in Cornwall. Okay, sorry, got it.
that's okay. Any other comments? Anyone who wasn't at the meeting want to have any thoughts about that? And then we talked about this idea, sort of walking the line that we don't really want to produce all these new events. However, there does seem to be opportunity to bring, some overall initiatives that can help the businesses come together on special days and engage with the businesses. So we as the EDC, again, are very much involved and can help, but the businesses themselves would sort of be the ones actually, figuring out how they want to participate in a so-called town-wide event. So we talked about this theme, and I think this has been used before. Bianca has so much more history than I do, but sort of a Cornwall Days, just as a theme for offering a special day or two in Cornwall. Again, maybe the EDC could help add music or a special, walking tour or something that we could help support. But this sort of came about because two things were happening that sort of came together, which is that Libby at the local was telling me that she, wants to celebrate the first anniversary of the local. Bianca happens to have the 25th anniversary of the Wish House. And it just started feeling like there was an opportunity to bring some of these milestones together under this theme of Cornwall Days. And again, it wouldn't be just the local in the Wish House. I already talked to Bob down at the Electric Bike about this, and it looks like on the calendar, July 30th is a potential date where there is not a lot of other things going on in town. And we also talked on the committee, just to be really sensitive to our commercial centers are, not all in one place, that we decided that we wanted to take, to present this as sort of this theme, but that we would do it at different times in West Cornwall versus in Cornwall Bridge, just because it's complicated to do it all in one day. So we talked about July 30th, potentially, bringing businesses together to offer special sales, special activities, whatever, and adding to that with potentially with music or, food from Frank's if Frank wants to participate. And then we talked about doing another Cornwall Days in October, which would be in Cornwall Bridge, because the Iron Bank is interested in, kind of sponsoring an event, some kind of day event there, because they're also celebrating their a significant milestone anniversary. Now I forget what number it is. So I guess that's what we wanted to bring to this full all the commission members, that, we're wanting to initiate this idea, but not necessarily, again, be the ones who are doing everything. I think we would probably have to print up flyers, and there would be a budget to this. So we'll have to get more specific. If everyone thinks this is a good idea, we'll obviously have to get much more specific about like the EDC will bring, A, B, and C, and it will cost this much. But, and then these businesses are participating with these, these offers or activities that they're doing. So this is a general idea. We need to get more specific with what the EDC's role really would be, but we wanted to, kind of, I guess, just present that to see what other commission members thought. And if anyone else on the subcommittee, please chime in if I missed anything.
I think those are some great ideas, and attacking them onto the anniversaries that you're talking about. I think that makes an awful lot of sense. Bianca, have you had any thoughts about how you might implement this?
Well, I mean, I had already planned an art opening that day. I will have music, and I'm hoping maybe to have an author doing a signing that day. Generally, when I do author events, they benefit either the child center. Well, if they are children's books, and I have 2 authors currently that have brought out new children's books, so it might be that. And they usually benefit either the library or the child center to sort of cross promote yet another entity in town. And my idea is always to collaborate with other food sources in town, like the bakery in Cornwall Bridge or the Cornwall Country Market, to bring things in. I've done that in the past. I remember when we had the Matthews 1812 house still in town, and I had them bring cookie trays to I think it was a holiday stroll. And so many people didn't even know about them. A lot of weekenders had no idea that this bakery, wholesale bakery, existed in town. And it's sort of a way of cross-promoting one another's businesses. So I'll definitely do that. And we'll reach out to all other businesses to do something similar. In the past, like in Ingersoll would have provided champagne and some nibbles, and it's just sort of like a leisure afternoon for people to get stopped in their tracks. And often passerbys, because there's so much going on also at Lime Rock, will then linger. And I think also, with a new restaurant, that will recreate totally different dynamics and should be fun. And what I always like about these things is that you give everyone an opportunity to participate in whatever capacity they feel good at. And then there is no disappointment in the end. They can put in as much of themselves as they wish to, and they'll get as much out of it as they desire. So that's basically how I've done always things, and we'll go forward.
I think that sounds great. And then, I know NIB is very excited about this anniversary. So, hopefully we'll get quite a lot of support out of them for that. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that's a terrific start.
Sure, that's great. Can I ask Gordon a question again on this, since I'm all new to this? I guess like an event, sorry, my children are making noise in the background and they're not even little anymore. Okay. An event, like to get something on the calendar, again, this is preliminary. We need more discussions of like what actually this afternoon would entail, but is there something specific that we need to do to alert the Selectmen's office about an event if this date hopefully does work out? Is Gordon still there?
I think you just put it out there. I think if they are on people's property, then the businesses should be responsible for what happens on their property. That's the only caveat I would put out there. You have to have somebody sort of in charge of an event or care and control the event. So you want to have, the businesses understand but that's part of being in business. I think that's what you're doing. If it's a purely civic event like the town agricultural fair, then the agricultural commission is in charge of it. So
Okay,
if this is all, I mean, I think that gets back to who's, what are you doing and who's in charge. But it sounds like if you're highlighting, if you're working in people's businesses and stuff, then they should be responsible for what happens on their property.
got it. Okay, that's good to know. So
Mhm.
for instance, if, Bianca plans to have music, which she's done before, obviously, but if like Bob or Ian Ingersoll, who have little spaces outside their, within their property, but they have little space that maybe a little guitar player could set up or whatever, that it falls on them to, even though we might help organize that, it's their responsibility.
Right. And you
Okay.
probably, I mean, it depends on the size you're talking about too, because I know in the past, sometimes if it's a major event, then you have to go to the planning and zoning commission and say, we're having a big event. So, just, there's gonna be you got to think about parking and traffic and that kind of thing, but it depends on your scale, but I don't really know what scale you're talking about.
Okay, so as this progresses, if it seems like a lot of businesses want to participate and, there's a couple of music related things or some kind of artist activity or whatever. Libby was talking about sort of a meet the artist thing. So this is all, again, it's preliminary, but if as this progresses, it's sort of, I guess, what would constitute having to let the planning and zoning committee know about it?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of scale. And like if you're gonna offer food and if you think it's gonna be something much, bigger than normal stuff, then that's that,
Okay,
I mean,
all right,
clearly,
well,
when they had the thing for Ukraine, there's a bunch of people down at the restaurant, and they didn't need it there, but if all of a sudden, like when we had the bridge dance, we had to, the bigger the size, it gets involved, and then especially if you get food involved and the health district gets involved.
gotcha.
So it's a matter, I mean, art and music are pretty straightforward, but when you start talking about having traffic impacts or serving food, that's when other people have something to say, which is it's a little vague because it's, whatever, but I think
Right,
it's.
okay, no, that helps me, 'cause it just, so we have to sort
Yeah.
of further develop the scale here, and then we can come back
Yeah.
with.
I mean, I think
okay.
like 12 Days of Christmas, that was easily absorbed into I mean, that didn't create any big crowds or anything, but once you start talking, major crowd, you do have to start thinking about, sanitation, parking, food, licenses, and that kind of stuff.
Right,
So,
okay, good to know. More to come.
And a lot of this will
Sure.
be tacked on to, the existing market that's held down there on Saturday mornings. anyway,
right, sure.
Which gives a certain amount of air cover, I assume. Okay, that's good. Does anyone else have any comments on that? Thank you very much, Matt. That's really great. And then the final one I think that we'll cover tonight is supporting the Board of Selectmen and attracting new business. A lot of this was going to be reported on by Jane, who's obviously not here. But Neil, have you got any further in purchasing social media advertising?
Or just eating some matzah.
Or chew slowly. We don't want you to expire on this call. Looks like it might be quite good.
You have to unmute yourself again.
Thank you. As I was saying, I was eating some matzah. We've been using page just sporadically on social right now, and not too much. But what I'd love to do is let me know which meeting to come back with is a full integrated marketing plan, which isn't just social, but also advertising and PR. So we can figure out how we're marketing the town in totality and and where you all want to spend money in order to do that. And I can put together a recommendation for you guys to give some input on.
That would be terrific.
Sounds great. Yeah.
I'm still not quite sure why you're not one of us guys. We'll have to sort of figure that out if I'd like to do that. That would be good. And then, the last goal was just monitoring what Optimum was up to. Any developments there, Gordon, or status quo?
Tell me again, Simon, what's the question?
Sorry, any developments with Optimum and its fiber laying? Box pleasing.
Yes, we're opening up a dialogue with them. We're formulating questions. They haven't filed for any permits yet, but we are setting up sort of a region-wide. I'm trying to set up a region-wide meeting to answer obvious questions about what they're doing and trying to get into a little more specific on things. And they did respond asking for questions. So I got a couple of people coming up with questions. So if anybody has questions for Optimum, just email them to me and I'll relay them. And as I said, we're trying to get something set up as far as their implementation, their time schedule, their rate schedule. I mean, one of the big questions is how are they going to approach long driveways is a big question. So that's sort of where we're at. But apparently, they're still saying they're going to go and, push it out this construction season. I also did see in the Waterbury paper that Frontier is laying cable or is laying fiber optic cable in Torrington right now.
Yeah.
So what's sort of interesting is that you may have a couple of markets there. You may have a couple of providers, at least in some of these bigger areas, where, again, nobody thought it was possible to do anything. So now all of a sudden Frontier's going in because you're sort of thinking what's their business future going to be. So anyway, interesting. And we should know more, I would say, within a month.
Good.
So far, the rates are competitive. I mean, the only other thing I learned last month, because they're going to have to get people they're going to provide both cable and fiber, and at least initially. So their rates are going to have to be attractive to get their cable customers to switch over. I mean, their take rate is really important to them. So, but apparently for a while they have to still provide the cable, so they're going to be competing against themselves. But the word from other areas that they've wired in the last couple of years is that the rates are, pretty similar to what people are paying for cable now. They're not double or something crazy. So that's as much as I know.
Oh, that's all positive. Thank you. Perfect. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to raise this meeting? Gary? Sorry.
Going back to Neil, your thought on a comprehensive marketing plan, and you had said, as soon as we're amenable to it, I'm of the mind that this is something that's very much your comfort zone and expertise, and I would love to see that as soon as possible. That's going to help us move forward and budgeting.
Mhm.
So if the commissioners are in agreement, and you can have something for us to discuss next month, that would be wonderful.
Good idea.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, Neil?
Please.
Neil, how many hours do you think you spend doing Cornwall online outreach and marketing in general these days?
Every dog walk, every spare moment.
Look, far be it for me to sort of, look a gift horse in the mouth, but I've been sort of around the block enough with creative people and managing creative people to know that At some point, it's good to, pay for things. And I'm sure that, we're not necessarily in a place where we could sort of match your going market rate, which I'm assuming is a healthy one. But I just think we should all sort of keep that in mind as we ask for extensive marketing plans in a month. It's one thing to sort of volunteer time and sort of do it on your own schedule. If we are sort of starting to get into a place of really hoping and asking for things and having that kind of relationship, I wonder if maybe we should be a little to think about that. That's all.
Thanks.
Good
Bill.
point. Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the public? Michelle?
Hi, I just wanted to touch base on the internet for Cornwall Bridge. No, as local residents, we may not linger in Cornwall Bridge. We come in, we do our shopping and we go. But remember, during the summer, Cornwall Bridge is a hub for the AT people. When I worked at the country market, they came in, they used the Wi-Fi. Obviously, it doesn't really reach all the way to the picnic area. So I'm sure James and Idella would appreciate some support to get their Wi-Fi in a better, it reaches out there, but not with a strong power. I know Richard's not here tonight, but I do believe in the past, Richard has said he has Wi-Fi. And if you think about it, you'll always see hikers sitting outside the package store. It's because they're on his Wi-Fi. So we do have a need for Wi-Fi in Cornwall Bridge. We have a lot of people who want to spend money, but if they can't connect with the world, they're going to move on down the road to find that internet, and that takes them to Kent. So I think working with our businesses to find a spot, especially since James and Idella have a beautiful picnic area out there. I know that technically Cornwall Bridge Gardens is Sharon. I like Gordon's greater Cornwall Bridge area description, but you have a hub there that's going to bring AT people up as well. So I do think that don't overlook our little Cornwall Bridge corner, that people will linger if they have a reason to.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And Gary, presumably sorry.
Could I jump in with something just before it moves on? So per my discussion with Simon, I have been investigating the need to replace, well, not really to replace, but we've lost our fly shop in Cornwall. We used to have two not too many years ago. Now we're down to none. So I've started talking about the idea of creating some kind of a pop-up. I've now talked to both Libby at the local and the couple, I've forgotten their name, the couple that own the Susie Bakery place.
Sicardi.
The Sicardis.
No.
Malika.
Sicardi's
Megan.
tenants.
Oh, Meg.
Megan and Brian Malika.
Malika, right. So I've spoken to the Malikas and to Libby. Then I went and found this fellow, Ethan, who runs this shop in Kent. It's called the Outdoor Sportsman or something. He has a Main Street address. You wouldn't see the place because it's sort of set back. But anyway, so I talked to Ethan. I brought him up to West Cornwall. We sort of poked in the window at the local one day. It was closed. And I've now put him in touch both with Libby and with the Malikas to talk about some kind of a consignment arrangement where he could provide some supplies. So the issue is that when people come fly fishing in Cornwall, they generally have most of what they need, but it would be great if there was a spot where you could pick up the things you forgot and or get some local flies, locally tied flies that match the time of the season. So this fellow, Ethan, who was referred to me by Rob Nicholas, is supposedly going to talk to both Libby and the Malikas. I'm a little bit nervous about that. He hasn't done anything yet. So I'm going to give him another week and then move on to plan B, which is there's another guy in Farmington who may be interested in having some kind of a pop-up presence in Cornwall. So more on that later.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have just one thing. Dick Sears had mentioned to me, he was responsible for the sort of containers, plastic, what do you call them? Those realtor brochure holders by the 2 kiosks in town for the Visit Cornwall maps, and those need to be replaced because they don't have lids anymore and the brochures get wet and then turn into paper mache. So I would love to be able to, they are like $15 each. If we could allot for $30 to purchase new realtor boxes, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely in support. Everyone else in support?
Is that a motion?
I think it's a motion, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's
Make a
the
motion.
motion? What's the
The
motion?
motion to approve minimal spending on new, what are they called? Realtor brochure holders.
Brochure holders, covered brochure holders.
Or I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? No, approved. Thanks, Bianca. Great, well that, I think we're done. The next meeting will be May the 26th.
Neil would like to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one quick thing, Simon. I wanted to
Yeah.
confirm that the .com website is now live on desktop and mobile. And I thought it might be worth maybe going to the Chronicle so that they can write a story to let people know that the .com site is there and exists now and that it's visitor focused so they can tell other people about it. So I just wanted to throw that idea out there.
I sit on the, I'm involved in the Chronicle, I should say, so I could actually take that one if you want. So you're just saying, Neil, that you think there maybe should be at least a notes or whatever they call the brief section, maybe about, you know, the .com is now live with visitor information, but the .org is still all of the stuff that you need. Okay.
And
Okay.
you just landed on it too. One, that the .com now exists, but two, to avoid any confusion between what the two are, to explain what the two are.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Thanks.
Good.
Yep.
And I think Jane Harold had emailed us all her progress on her discussion with the website committee, and the fact that they'll be focusing first on redoing the pages, the governmental pages, to more chronically list all the minutes and agendas to make things more easily found, and then they'll go on to other things. I think everyone has that information, what she spoke about. So I hope that is enough at this point.
Good. Okay, well, with that, can we have a motion to end?
Just note that the next meeting is the 24th of May, not the 26th.
24th, I'm sorry.
24th. I'll make a
Sooner
motion.
and sooner. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Bye.
Thanks very much. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Aye, thank you.